Hare Krishna. Om Adhyanatimidandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So welcome to Wisdom of Bhagavad Gita, and we are currently on chapter number 4, which is entitled Transcendental Knowledge, and in Sanskrit it is called Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. So there are 42 verses in this chapter. And last week, though I wanted to cover 11 verses, we could only cover first 6 verses. So as the name suggests, this chapter is talking about various topics, but mainly it is a transcendental knowledge about various things. So last week we were talking about that this chapter gives the transcendental knowledge about the transcendental knowledge. It gives the transcendental knowledge about Lord Shri Krishna and also gives the transcendental knowledge about karma. So till now, actually, this is not the first chapter where we are getting some transcendental knowledge. In the first 3 chapters as well, we got some transcendental knowledge. So in the first chapter, we saw how Krishna is Bhakta Vatsala, that he is becoming a charioteer of his devotees. He is the Supreme Lord, but he is taking that Minai position for his devotees, and he's trying to serve his devotees. So we saw Krishna is Bhakta Vatsal. So it is the quality of Lord Shri Krishna, and that is a transcendental knowledge. Then in the second chapter, we saw that we are not this body, but we are spirit soul. And what is the difference between the body and soul? That how the spirit soul is eternal, but the body is temporary. All of those attributes of the body and soul that we saw, that is also transcendental knowledge. So the soul's characteristics that we saw. Then in the second and third chapter, little later in second chapter and in third chapter as well, we saw karma kanda as well as karma yoga. So the nishkam karma yoga that Lord Shri Krishna has already described is also transcendental knowledge, because any knowledge by which we can approach the Supreme Lord is transcendental knowledge also. Then towards the end of the third chapter, we saw how to conquer lust. Lust is a roadblock in a Nishkam Karma Yoga, and how we can conquer it. That was to regulate the senses, and the second one, which was mentioned, was by transcendental knowledge. We have to strengthen the intelligence, and with that spiritual intelligence, we can steady the mind, and that is how we can actually gain the spiritual potency. And with that purification, then it is possible for us to conquer lust. So we have seen some transcendental knowledge in the first 3 chapters. But this entire chapter is going to give us more knowledge about the Supreme Lord, about the transcendental knowledge as well, and about karma. So Lord Shri Krishna has already started giving this transcendental knowledge from like the first verse itself. He mentioned that this knowledge is eternal. It is not that just to please Arjuna and to make him fight in the war, he has created this knowledge. So he has started giving some history about this transcendental knowledge. He mentioned that he is the origin of the knowledge, and we saw also this verse dharmam tu sakshat bhagavad pranitam last week. So not only he is the origin, and but he has also given this knowledge multiple times. So he mentioned that at the beginning of the creation, he has given it to sun god. Then sun god has given to Manu. Manu has given to his son Ikshvaku. So like that, this knowledge was passed. So this knowledge is eternally present. But then why he is giving again to Arjuna? So he mentioned in the second verse that this knowledge is actually transferred in parampara from a spiritual master to a disciple. Then the disciple again will implement that knowledge in his day-to-day life. And then Over a period of time, when he gets purified, he will become a spiritual master and pass it on to his disciple. That is how in a parampara system, in a disciplic chain, disciplic succession, this knowledge is transferred. But over a period of time, what happens is sometimes this parampara is broken, this chain is broken. And if the chain is broken, then it will be like this knowledge will be lost. And the chain can be broken because of two reasons. Either the guru is not giving the original knowledge, is not giving the knowledge as it is, or he is giving, but the student is not sincere. So we actually discussed that last time. And then next, Lord Shri Krishna mentioned that only a devotee can understand this. So we understood that we have to become sincere student. We have to become devotee of Lord Shri Krishna. So at that point, Arjuna asked this question, and he asked it very wonderfully. He asked, how do I understand that you and I are contemporaries? We are just like equal of age, same age, but sun god is eternal. He is there from the beginning of creation. So how can I understand that you have given this knowledge to sun god? So he's asking this question for the benefit of all of us, so that we can hear more glories of Lord Shri Krishna. So at that time, then Lord Shri Krishna starts giving the transcendental knowledge about himself. So he mentions the difference between the Supreme Lord and the living entities. So the Supreme Lord doesn't, like, he says that his birth and his death are not like the living entities. He appears and he disappears. It is not like birth and death of the living entities. And when he appears in his original transcendental form, which is unborn and it never dies. So because his body is not temporary like our body, and that is why he doesn't forget. He actually remembers everything. But whereas our body comes and goes, so we forget. So Krishna clearly says that I remember everything, but you do not remember. I come in my transcendental body, which is spirit, which is spiritual inside and outside. But unfortunately, you are like a spirit soul, but you have this material body on top of you. So that is why we forget, but he doesn't. So that is where we had stopped last week. So let us go to now 4.7. Now this 4.7 and 8 verses are quite famous. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirбhavati bharata abhyutthanam adharmasya tadatmanam srajamyaham. Yes, Vidushi Mataji and Uma Mataji. And the next one, Pamendra Prabhuji, you can.
Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice or descendant of Bharata and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself.
Yeah, so Lord Shri Krishna is now mentioning about when he appears. So when does he appear? It is clearly mentioned when there is a decline in religion and there is a predominant rise in irreligion. So yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata. So when there is a dharmasya glani, so that means there is a decline in religion. And abhyutthanam adharmasya, and the adharma increases. There is a rise in adharma. So at that time, the Supreme Lord appears. And what does he do after he has appeared? That is mentioned in the next verse. So let us look at the next verse. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge.
Krishna Prabhuji, to deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreant, as well as to reestablish the principle of religion, I myself appear millennium after millennium.
So there are three purposes which are mentioned that why the Supreme Lord appears. Why he appears? Three things. Paritranaya sadhunam, vinashaya cha dushkritam, and dharma samsthapanarthaya. So vinashaya cha dushkritam means to annihilate the demons. Paritranaya sadhunam means to deliver the devotees. And dharma samsthapanarthaya means to re-establish the principles of religion. So, in the previous verse, he has already mentioned that when there is a decline in religion and there is predominant rise in a religion, so at that time he is appearing to make sure that he can re-establish the principles of religion. But interestingly, to re-establish the principles of religion, he doesn't have to actually come himself. He can just send one of his associates, and then like Srila Prabhupada, and they can re-establish the principles of religion again. So for that, he doesn't have to appear. Then to annihilate the demons, again, he doesn't have to appear himself. So he is sitting in everyone's heart as Paramatma. And when the Paramatma leaves the body, then everything is finished. So the Atma on its own cannot do anything. So that means to annihilate the demons, he doesn't have to come personally and then kill those demons. He can do it wherever he is. But mainly he comes to deliver the devotees. And the devotees are anxious to have some reciprocal relationship with the Supreme Lord. They are waiting to see the Lord and to see his pastimes. So that is why the main reason our acharyas explain that even though there are three reasons which are mentioned, the main reason that the Supreme Lord appears is to deliver the devotees, to have some nice relationship with the devotees, and to attract everyone and to take everyone back to Godhead. So that is his main purpose. Now, though it is mentioned when he appears and why he appears, there are many misconceptions about Lord's appearances. For example, one of the main misconception that many people have is that there are 10 incarnations of the Supreme Lord, Dashavatar. Yes, there are 10, but they are not the only 10 avatars of the Supreme Lord. The Lord has immeasurable incarnations. In fact, in Srimad Bhagavatam itself, in the first canto, third chapter, there are 23 avatars which are mentioned of the Supreme Lord. So there are not only 10 avatars. So there are innumerable avatars. The 10 are the main ones which are talked about, but there are many more. In Srimad Bhagavatam itself, as I was saying, in the first canto, third chapter, there are 23 which are mentioned. And there are other places, there are many more which are mentioned. But what is important is it doesn't mean that because there are many more which are innumerable, that is why anyone who claims to be an avatara in India, in Bharat, we have so many people who would say that I'm the Kalaki avatar, or I'm this avatar, or that avatar. And unfortunately, the people just trust and believe them. And people may actually say that, oh, because the Lord has said that he has innumerable avatars, then why not this person can be an avatar? So interestingly, if the Lord wants us to know about an avatar, then that avatar will be mentioned in the scriptures. So if we are not supposed to know about the avatar, then the avatar will not be mentioned. So that means even if somebody is claiming that he is an avatar or she is an avatar like that, then we don't have to trust them, because we have to say that show me in the scripture where it is mentioned that you are the avatar. And every avatar comes with a mission. For example, Lord Buddha in the purport, Srila Prabhupada talks about Lord Buddha. So Lord Buddha came to establish the Vedic principle of non-violence at that point. So first thing is there are innumerable avatars. And those avatars that we need to actually know, they are mentioned in the scriptures. So they are sanctioned by the scriptures. The next thing that we need to know that every avatar comes with a mission. And the avatars can come anywhere. And the common mission of this avatar is to lead people to God consciousness. Also, they come for obedience or to establish the principles of the religion. But the main reason why the avatar comes, the Lord comes here, is to lead people to God consciousness. They are coming here to advertise the spiritual world. Srila Prabhupada used to say that, and he asked his disciples to make lots of beautiful paintings of these pastimes. And he used to say that these paintings are the windows to the spiritual world. You look at the painting and you can see that, oh, this is how the pastimes are happening in the spiritual world. So these are the windows to the spiritual world. So we are looking from the window, and then once we get attracted, then we will want to enter through the door of the spiritual world. So the Lord comes mainly for advertising and says that, hey, look at that. I'm coming here temporarily to show some trailer, but the movie is happening in the spiritual world. If you are interested in the movie, then come there. So that is how it works out. Okay. Melissa Mataji, you have a question?
Yeah, I was just going to ask about Jesus. What's his deal?
Yes, good question. So Jesus, it is mentioned, and even the Christians also say that he's a son of God. So just like we all living entities are also part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. And we are saying that he's our Supreme Father, the Lord Shri Krishna. So we are also sons of the Supreme Lord. But some living entities who come from the spiritual world, they are not forced down from the spiritual world. So, for example, we are forced into the spiritual world because of our material desires. And then slowly, we are following the process of sadhana, spiritual sadhana. And then once we get purified, we can go back to Godhead. But as I was mentioning earlier, sometimes to establish the principles of religion, Lord Krishna sends some of his associates down, and they will help in establishing the principles of religion. And those people who are coming, those living entities, those jivas who are coming down, they are not bound like us. They are called Nitya Siddhas. They are eternally liberated. So Jesus is an example like that. He is an eternally liberated soul. And he has come to establish the principles of religion. And that is how more people will get attracted towards the Lord and go back. So that is how it works. Does that help?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Mahendra Prabhuji?
Prabhuji, quick question. You mentioned about the Vedic scriptures. Normally, incarnations are mentioned in the Vedic scriptures. So, are there like any instances or any examples where the future incarnations are mentioned in the Vedic scriptures?
Oh, yes. Yeah. So, for example, Lord Buddha's avatar was mentioned even before he appeared. Buddha appeared just a few thousand years ago, but it was mentioned in the scriptures for like eternally. Then an incarnation of Kalki is mentioned, which is coming at the end of the Kali Yuga. Hopefully, we are not here at that point in time, because Kali Yuga is 432,000 years long, and towards the end of the Kali Yuga, he's going to come. It is already mentioned where he's going to appear, who are he's going to be his parent, all of parents, that is all mentioned. And we are only around 5,000 years into Kali Yuga. So if we get to see Kalaki Avatar, that means we remained in Kali Yuga for another 427,000 years. So we are hoping that just we will see 4.9, which is coming next. Just by 4.9's potency, we go back to Godhead in this lifetime and not wait for Kalaki to come and see that avatar.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Raghavendra Prabhuji and Mataji.
I don't know whether you have time, but quickly, there is a huge conception that I think it may have covered before, but I'll ask anyway. That Krishna is also one of the avatars, and I mean that's kind of common misconception among many people, especially in South part of it, that Krishna is one of the 10 avatars. Vishnu is the main one. So What do you say about that? Is it misconception?
Yeah, good question, Prabhuji. Yes, it is a misconception. It is a conception that Vishnu, from Vishnu comes all the avatars. Actually, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is mentioned, like for example, the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the third chapter, where we were talking about those avatars are mentioned, 23. But after that, it is mentioned, Ete chamsa kala pumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. So all of these avatars that I have mentioned till now, Ete cha amsa kala pumsa. So amsha or kala avatars are there. Amsha means they are the portion of the Supreme Lord, or kala means they are the portion of the Supreme Lord. So all these avatars are mentioned. Then it is mentioned that these are all avatars of the Supreme Lord. But who is the Supreme Lord? Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. That Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So from him, everyone, like all the avatars come. And especially the Vishnu avatars that we are talking about, they are called Purusha avatars. So Lord Shri Krishna's expansion, it is a little bit technical, but Lord Vishnu is an expansion of expansion of the expansion of the expansion of the expansion. So Lord Krishna expands to Balaram. Then Balaram actually has the first Chaturvyuha in Goloka. And from that Chaturvyuha Sankarshan, then comes the Vaikuntha's Chaturvyuha. From that Sankarshan, then comes Mahavishnu, which is the Karanodakshai Vishnu. And Karanodakshai Vishnu is the Vishnu who's resting on the Karana ocean, the causal ocean. And from the pores of his body, like on our skin, we have the pores. And from the pores are coming the sweat and whatever. But from the pores of his body are coming the universes, like the material universes are coming out of the pores of his body. So he's so gigantic. And from that, within that, each universe, this Mahavishnu expands and enters into each of the universe. Only then it starts functioning. And that Vishnu which has entered into each universe is called Garbhodakshai Vishnu. And he is sleeping or resting on the Garbhodak ocean. From that Vishnu's navel comes this lotus. And on that lotus comes, then Brahma is created. And then Brahma creates the secondary creation, all the jivas and everything comes from Brahma like that. Now, when Brahma has created all of this, still it is not functioning properly. And the Lord, Garbhodakshai Vishnu, now it has to expand again into Kshirodakshai Vishnu. And that Kshirodakshai Vishnu is the Paramatma, and he enters in each of every atom as well as living entity so that everything works. So our Paramatma is that Kshirodakshai Vishnu. And when generally Vishnu is mentioned, they are referring to either the Kshirodakshai Vishnu or the Garbhodakshai Vishnu. So as you can see, he is an expansion of the Supreme Lord like that. So over a period of time, maybe we can talk about it further. But for now, we can move on. Otherwise, I'll just remain here on this topic. Is that a very quick question, Mataji?
Maybe you can cover at the last if you have some time, Prabhuji.
Yeah, so can you hold on to your question? If it is related to still incarnations and whatever, we can move on.
If you can mention later about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as well as a Chanavatar, some references, that will be
Okay.
good.
So, okay, we will see if the time permits, we'll talk about it. Okay, let's move on. So we have done 4.8. This 4.9 verse is so wonderful and it is so useful for us, for all of us. And I'll explain why. Janma karma cha me divyam yo me vet. Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tattvataha tyaktva deha punarjanma naiti mameti so Arjuna. Who wants to read? Yes, Parminder Prabhuji again.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and the activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his worth again in this material world, but attain my eternal abode, O Arjuna.
So his eternal abode. So what Krishna is saying, one who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving this body, takes his birth again in this material world. So someone may say that, what is the use? Why should we know about Krishna? So Krishna has mentioned it here, why we should know about him. Just by understanding that Krishna's appearance and his activities are not ordinary, they are transcendental. Just by understanding this part, we can go back to Godhead and we will not take birth again in this material world. Now, why that is important for us? See, we were not fortunate enough to get liberated or to develop the love of Godhead when the Lord appeared. Like, we have taken millions of lifetimes, right? So, most probably we were somewhere around when Lord Shri Krishna appeared. When Lord, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also appeared 500 years ago, we must be somewhere around. But we did not take it seriously. And we still remained here in this material world, not taking up the process which Lord Shri Krishna, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and even before all these other appearances which have happened, we did not take it seriously. But now that we actually know, and you are all also taking it seriously, and you are attending this Wisdom of Bhagavad Gita sessions, you're reading Bhagavad Gita, you're trying to implement the knowledge which is given in the Bhagavad Gita, you may still think, and you may have this problem in your heart thinking, so it was so easy for Arjuna. Lord Shri Krishna was in front of him, and that is why he was able to have some pastimes with him, and that is why he got liberated. He became a pure devotee, and he went back to Godhead. But what about me? Lord Shri Krishna is not present in front of me. How will I get benefited? So Lord Shri Krishna is saying, not only those people who were around me at that time and they listened to my advice and my instructions, they got benefited. But now all of you, even though I'm not there physically present in front of you, you still will still get benefited just by remembering those pastimes that I performed at that time. And you can just get liberated just by remembering those pastimes which I have performed when I appeared. This is very, very useful for us, that even though we did not take part in the pastimes, we did not take any benefit when the Lord came at that point in time, we ignored his presence for some reason or the other. Now that we have woken up from our sleep and slumber, just by remembering the pastimes which the Lord has performed and understanding that Lord Shri Krishna, his appearance is not like our appearance. He is the Supreme Lord. He is infinite, and we are infinitesimally small. He is spiritual. We are also spiritual, so we are part and parcel. He is the master. We are the servant. If we understand these simple things, then we also have the ability now to go back to Godhead. So this is what is mentioned. So gain the knowledge about Lord Shri Krishna, and this knowledge will take you to the spiritual world. So this is the benefit about knowing about Krishna for all of us. So going further, the next verse is also continuing on this same theme. Vitaraga bhaya krodha manmana mam upashritaha bahavo jnana tapasa uta madbhavam agataha. Who wants to read?
Prabhu, can I read?
Raghavendra Prabhuji can read, then Melissa Mataji, and then Ashoka Mataji, you can read.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Krishna Prabhu. Being freed from attachment, fear, and anger, being fully absorbed in me, and taking refuge in me, many persons in the past become purified by knowledge of me, and thus they all attain transcendental love for me.
So being freed from, thank you, Mataji, being freed from attachment, fear, and anger. So why we need to be free from attachment, fear, and anger? So in the first line itself, Srila Prabhupada mentions why we need to be freed from these things. Srila Prabhupada mentions, as described above, it is very difficult for a person who's too materially affected to understand the personal nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So what Srila Prabhupada is saying, that if we are materially too engrossed, so raga means attachment. So there are a lot of material attachments that we have. We are fearful, and krodha means anger. All of these things are there. These are all signs of material modes, and we are too attached. So, we are too materially engrossed. And if we are materially too engrossed, then it is not possible to actually start on the spiritual journey, or we will not be interested in the spiritual journey a lot. So that is why Lord Shri Krishna is saying that being freed from attachment, fear, and anger, being fully absorbed in me and taking refuge in me, many persons in the past become purified by knowledge of me, and thus they all attain transcendental love for me. So Lord Shri Krishna has said in the previous verse that just by understanding my janma karma are divya, so his activities and his appearance are transcendental, you can go back to Godhead. And here he's giving examples that I'm saying this, that it can happen, but there are examples as well. There are many people who have followed this path and they have become freed from attachment, fear, and anger. And then manmaya mam upashrita, they have taken refuge in me, they were fully absorbed in me, and by doing that they have attained love for me, and then they came back to me, and they did not take birth in this material world. So this is the process which is mentioned. So just by understanding the janma and karma, which is divya, so what will happen if you understand that Krishna is not like ordinary, like us, and he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we are part and parcel. He's the master, we are servant, and we are actually stuck here. So and this material world is anyway temporary. We have taken lots of bodies before, but now that we have understood that we are spirit soul and we are connected to the Supreme Lord, but somehow or the other we are forgotten it. So obviously someone will say that, okay, I want to actually go back to Godhead. So how do I go? Then we understand the instructions which are given by the Supreme Lord. And by following those instructions, then we can go back to Godhead. We will get purified. Okay, so next verse. 11th verse. Ye yatha mam prapadyante tams tathaiva bhajamyaham mama vartamanu vartante manushya partha sarvashah. Yes, Melissa Mataji, please go ahead.
All of them, as they surrender unto me, I reward accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Pritha. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. So, ye yatha mam prapadyante tams tathaiva bhajamyaham. So, Lord Shri Krishna is saying, as you surrender unto me, I reciprocate with you accordingly. So, what does it mean? If you want to love Krishna, then he will give love. He will reciprocate accordingly. But if you only have some material desires, and for that you are approaching the Supreme Lord, then he will give it to you if you deserve it. But the problem is that because you are interested in some material desires, you will remain in this material world. So, ye yatha mam prapadyante tam sataiva bhajamyaham. So suppose you want some mystic power, then he may actually give it to you if you actually become qualified by the Ashtanga Yoga process. Then at a particular point, you may actually get a lot of siddhis, you will get mystic powers. But you may still remain in this material world because the siddhis or this mystic power are given to control the material nature, to control the material energy. So in the spiritual world, how will you use your siddhis? You are actually asking for siddhis to control the material nature. So you'll remain here in this material world for controlling that material nature. So that way, even if we get some special powers, mystic powers, that will also keep us here. because that is our desire. Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam sathaiva bhajamyaham. But if we want to serve the Supreme Lord, if we want to actually develop love for the Supreme Lord, then the result will be different. Krishna will reciprocate with us accordingly, and then we can go back to Godhead and we can serve him. Also, the last part, which is saying, Mama vartamanu vartante manushya partha sarvashaha. Everything follows my path in all respects, O son of Pritha. So, some commentators, Srila Prabhupada mentions, and other acharyas have also mentioned that some commentators actually talk about this line. They translate as all path lead to me, which is different from the actual meaning, which says everyone follows my path in all respects. All path lead to me. That means you take any path and you will still come to me. If that was true, if any path you can follow, whatever you want, you can do, and you can still come to Krishna, then what was the purpose of mentioning Bhagavad Gita? The Bhagavad Gita was spoken because Arjuna was saying that I want to actually give up my duty and I want to follow another path, which was to take sannyas, and I will go to the forest and I will live by begging. So Krishna should have said that, okay, that is the path that you want, that is okay, because all paths lead to me only, so that is no problem. Yeah. But he actually is speaking that entire Bhagavad Gita, this entire Bhagavad Gita, so that he can convince Arjuna that the path that you are trying to follow is not right. If you give up your duty, then it will be sinful, and you should actually do your duty. But going beyond the duty, he's saying that you should do bhakti. Instead of nishkam karma yoga, you should do bhakti. So this is important. And in Bhagavad Gita, already in the 2nd and 3rd chapter, Lord Shri Krishna has already mentioned that in the beginning he said that do karma kanda. But then he said that, oh, give up karma kanda. So if that path was also okay, then why would he said that, okay, give that up and just do nishkam karma yoga? And if you go to 9th chapter in the 25th verse, when we reach there, we will discuss in detail. But he mentioned that if you worship the devatas, yanti deva vratam devan. So that means if you worship devatas, then you will go to the planets of devatas. Pitrun yanti pitruvrata. So if you worship the forefathers, then will you go to the planets of forefathers. And bhutena yanti bhuteja. So if you actually worship the living entities, then you will come back to the planets of living entities. And yanti madhya jime jitopi mam. So if you worship me, then you can come to me. If all paths were supposed to we're going to go to the Lord, then why would he say that, okay, different things that you do, then you will reach different destinations? So Lord Shri Krishna is very clear. Not all paths lead to him. What he's saying, that everyone follows my path, like whatever paths which are there, even those who are breaking the rules, they are still on Krishna's path. Which path is that? The path of law of karma. The law of karma is also given by the Supreme Lord. So if you actually break the rules and regulations which are given, then you will get punished. And that punishment may actually wake us up, and we may start thinking that, oh, if I keep doing the sinful activities, then I will just suffer, just like the child learns from reward and punishment. So similarly, we may actually learn from it, and we may actually change our path. So everyone follows my path. So that is what is the real meaning. Okay, let us go to the next one. Oh, sorry. So the teaching here from this verse, from the 11th verse, was, as we surrender unto the Lord, he reciprocates with us accordingly. So it is up to our desire, like what desires with which we are approaching the Supreme Lord. So we should approach not for some material desires or for because of fear or anything like that, or just for duty. Mainly, we should actually go to the higher level of worship, which is worship of love, out of love. Okay, so the next verse, 12th verse. Kangshatah karmanam siddhim Yajanta iha devataha Shipram hi manushe loke Siddhir bhavati karmaja. Asoka Mataji, please.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare.
Translation. Men in the world desire success in fruitive activities and therefore they worship the demigods. Quickly, of course, men get results from fruitive work in this world. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you. So Lord Shri Krishna has mentioned that as all surrender unto me, then I'll reciprocate with them. Then Janma Karma Chame Divyam and Evam Yu Veti Tatvata. So, and if you know all of that, then you will come back to me. Then why everyone does not worship the Lord? It is mentioned, the answer is given in this verse. Why everyone is not worshipping the Lord? So he's saying that men in this world desire success in fruitive activities. They have some material desires and they want quick results. So they have material desires and they want quick results. And that is why they actually worship the devatas. Because worshipping the devatas is like a contract. You are following some karma kanda activities. You are doing some particular puja or yajna. And it is like a contract where you do this and you will get a particular result which is mentioned for that particular activity that you are doing. So just like you go to a shop, you give money and then you ask for a particular item. So because you have given money, the shopkeeper is going to give you that item. So the shopkeeper is not actually going to argue with you that, hey, for example, if you go and ask for a cigarette or a tobacco, as long as you give the money, you are going to get it. He's not going to tell you that, hey, it is not good for your health, this and that. He just got it. He just got the money and he's going to sell you the tobacco or the cigarette to you or alcohol to you. But if the shop is owned by a mother or father and the son goes there and gives money and asks for tobacco, then probably the tobacco is going to get here. So the mother and father is not going to give that because they understand that it is not good for you. So they will actually try to persuade you that this is not a good thing to do, my son or my daughter. So this is the difference between asking anything to the Devata or asking anything to the Supreme Lord. The Devatas are duty bound to give it to you, even though your desires may be inappropriate. Like any material desire, even if I took a crude example of alcohol or tobacco, but even if you have some desire for getting a lot of wealth or whatever, it is similar to tobacco and alcohol from the perspective that as long as you have material desires, you are going to remain here in this material world. So even though the devatas are understanding that, hey, we're serving the Supreme Lord, but these people who are coming to us, always they are asking for some material desires and always wanting to remain in this material world. But they are duty bound to give it to you, so they will just give it to you. But it is different when you actually start to worship. So why everyone does not worship the Lord? They want sense gratification, they have material desires, and they want quick results. So the difference between the Devata worship and the Supreme Lord worship, even if you have material desires. So even if you have material desires, you can still go to the Supreme Lord for those material desires. Just like we were talking about that shopkeeper, and whatever you want to buy, you're giving the money and you're asking for it. So you can go to an ordinary shopkeeper or the shop which is owned by your father. If it is okay for you, the father or mother will give it to you. But if it is not okay, they will try to purify you. They will try to persuade you not to actually get indulge in that activity. So Krishna, similarly, when you ask something of him, he purifies our heart. So if you're worshipping Krishna for gaining some material result, then Krishna first purifies our heart and then he will give it to us. But that may take time. It is not taking time for Krishna to give, but it is taking time for us to get purified. So there is a benefit that we are getting. when we actually, even if we have material desires and we go to Krishna for asking, we will get purified. Like in the case of Dhruva Maharaj that was seen. So he went to Krishna asking for a kingdom which is even bigger than Lord Brahma's kingdom. Lord Brahma is his grandfather, and he wanted a kingdom which is bigger than Brahma. So this is a material desire. So he did this tapasharya, this austerity for pleasing the Supreme Lord, and within 6 months the Lord appeared in front of him. But when the Lord appeared in front of him and touched his head with his conch, his heart became completely purified. And what he said is that now that I have received your darshan, anything material that I was asking is nothing as compared to your darshan. So I do not want anything now. But Krishna said, no, you had a desire. Now you are purified. I will still give it to you. So he gave a kingdom to him. But this takes some time. So that is why, because we want some quick results and we have these material desires, we just go to the devatas and get our desires fulfilled. But then we just remain in this material world. So this is the 4.12. So is there no hope for such people then? That they are going to the devatas and they are remaining in this material world we are talking about? No. Krishna is actually thinking about these people as well. And that is mentioned in the next verse. Chaturvarnyam maya srishtam gunakarma vibhagashaha tasya kartaram apimam vidya akartaram avyayam. Yes, Tripti Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
According to the three modes of material nature and the work associated with them, the four divisions of human society are created by me. And although I am the creator of this system, you should know that I am yet the non-doer, being unchangeable.
Yeah, another very important verse here. Thank you, Tripti Mataji. That Chaturvarnyam maya srishtam guna karma vibhagashaha. So this is a very important system, especially for Indian people to understand the Varnashram system. Now, most of the people in India, they are actually saying that, oh, this caste system is not good. Yes, the way that currently the caste system is going on, that is not good. Because the caste system in India currently is going on based on birth. That if a Brahmana is there, so because someone is born in that Brahmana's family, becomes a Brahmana, and he's called a Brahmana. So it is like saying that someone who has born in doctor's house is a doctor, or someone who has born in a lawyer's house or engineer's house is an engineer. It doesn't work like that. Like if a doctor's son as well, he wants to become a doctor, he has to still go to the college. He has to go to the school, then to the college, then to the university, then to get many degrees, then learn that art and the skills, and then he becomes a doctor or an engineer or a lawyer. So how come a Brahmana's son become a Brahmana then? That doesn't make sense. Just because you're born in a Brahmana family, you don't become a Brahmana. So this Varnashram or the caste system in India by birth is not the right one. It is not what Krishna has recommended. What Lord Krishna is saying, Chatur Varnam Maya Srishtam. So Chatur Varnam, these four Varnas are created by me, Maya Srishtam. Guna Karma Vibhagashaha. How that is made? Based on psychophysical nature. What is your mind and what is your body? So what are the modes which are acting on your mind? So whether you are in mode of goodness, passion, or ignorance, or a combination of these modes, which is the prominent mode? That is guna. And karma means what kind of skills you have achieved in this life. So that is psycho and physical nature. With your body, what kind of skills you have achieved, and where your mind, which modes, material modes you have acquired. So there are four varnas. So Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. And again, it is not based on janma. It is based on guna and karma. So Brahmana means a learned person. Kshatriya means an administrative person. Vaishya mean a mercantile person or someone who's interested in business. And Shudra means a laborer. So Maya Srishtam, Krishna has said. So Krishna has made this system. So it is not only for Bharat, like not for one country. It is everywhere. Because we may not be calling these people Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, but we can see that around us, if we look around, even in New Zealand here, there are some people who are learned, some people are interested in management or politics, or they want to join the defense or the army. Vaishya, there are some people who are interested in business, and some people who are just interested in doing some work, some labor work. So these kind of people, all four, learned, administrative, mercantile, and laborer, no matter where you go, whether you are in Bharat or you are in America, you are in UK, you are in New Zealand, Australia, you will see these four kinds of people everywhere, because it is Maya Srishtam. Lord Shri Krishna said that I have created this. And why they are created? So Chaturvarne Maya Srishtam Guna Karma Vibhagashaha, and Tasya Kartaram Apimam Vidya Vidyam Akartaram Avyayam. So that the second line is talking about himself. But why this Chaturvarnam Maya Srishtam is done? So that these people who are attached, who have material desires, it is not that they have no hope now that they have the material attachment. Krishna is saying that, okay, I will create a path for you. You have some material attachment and you don't want to just surrender unto me directly. Fine. Slowly you can progress. And you can purify yourselves from mode of ignorance to mode of passion, and from passion to goodness. So generally, the Brahmana is the person who's in mode of goodness. Kshatriya, who's in mode of passion. Vaishya, he is a combined mode of passion and ignorance. And Shudra is in mode of ignorance. So Sattvagun, Rajogun, Tamoguna. And what are the four ashramas? Four ashramas are Brahmachari life, Grihastha life, like Brahmachari life is a student life, Grihastha life is a married life, Vanaprastha is a retired life, and then Sannyas is a renounced life, where you focus more and more towards your spiritual advancement. So ashrama, this ashram that is we talked about, they are providing the time-wise progression in one's spiritual commitment. So slowly, we are supposed to increase our commitment towards the Supreme Lord. And the Varnas are providing one's material needs. And these material needs are provided in a way that we can work as per our psychophysical nature and then still progress in our life, in spiritual life. So this is the whole purpose that Varna and Ashrama are created. That it is mainly to purify ourselves by doing our duty properly. And then while doing that, connect to the Supreme Lord. And then that is how slowly we progress towards Him. So this is called Daivi Varnashrama system. So Daivi Varnashram system is where it is based on Guna and Karma. But the way that it is implemented, it is based on just Janma, and then that is why Shudra's son remains Shudra. Vaishya's son remains Vaishya. Brahmana's son becomes a Brahmana, even if he is not qualified. And then they will try to suppress the other people. If someone is Brahmana, he will never think of suppressing others and putting down someone, saying that you are lower or I am higher, because they are in goodness. The people in goodness will not do that. So obviously that is happening because they are not real Brahmanas. So this is this system by which we are just saying that just by birth we are Brahmana, Kshatriya or Vaishya, Shudra. It is called Asuri Varnashram. It is not Daivi Varnashram. It is not the proper Varnashram system. If we had proper Varnashram system, then that will lead us all towards Krishna and purify us. So this is what the Krishna system. And if you follow Krishna's system, then we will go closer to him. Yes, Tripti Mataji, you have some question?
Yeah, so if this is but somebody who is born in Shudra, or like the child of Shudra, if they are seeing the same mode of ignorance all the time, how can they be in the mercantile or administrative or learned? Like, isn't that the how it comes about that they should be given the same opportunities as everyone? So I'm just thinking like,
Yeah, good question. So so the question is that if say suppose someone is born in a Shudra family, so so somebody's parents are in mode of ignorance, which is tamoguna, then automatically by remaining in tamoguna's atmosphere or environment, then they will actually develop tamoguna, which is true, which is possible. And but that is not the case that everyone will remain in tamoguna. There are examples who like people who are in mercantile or laborer class as well, they became pure devotees. So for example, many saints that we had, for example, Santa Tukaram, and in South as well, there are so many saintly people who have come. They were either in Vaishya or Shudra family. So Santa Tukaram was coming from a Vaishya family, but he became like a pure devotee of the Lord. Then there are examples of Gora Kumbhar, who was actually a pot maker. So he was coming from a laborer family, but still he's considered a pure devotee of the Lord. So from Shudra, they have actually gone beyond Brahmana. So Vaishnava, or becoming a devotee of the Lord, like Brahmana is still in goodness. Vaishnava, or the devotee of the Lord, is considered in pure goodness. So not only these people who were in a particular, they were born in a particular family, they came to the stage of Brahmana, but actually they went beyond Brahmana and they became a Vaishnava. So it is possible that you can actually make choices. Everyone has free will, and using that free will, they can make right choices and they can progress towards the Supreme Lord and make their life successful. Is that okay? Yeah. Parminder Prabhuji, you have
thank
a
you,
question?
Prabhuji.
Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Just to add to you, maybe in your lecture as well, I learned that during the ashram system is a predecessor to the Varna system. So first, a child, when he goes to Gurukul, based on his quality, the Guru can decide whether he can be one of the Varnas. So that opportunity was always there at earlier stage.
Yeah. Yeah, that is right. So depending on their guna, actually then the acharya or his teacher can actually see that what kind of modes this person is exhibiting, what is his psychophysical nature, what is his psychological nature, and depending on that the skills will be given to that person, and then the psychophysical nature will be developed by that guru, and then the person can continue. So this is how it works out. Anyway, I think we are up to our time. I wanted to cover a few more, but that's fine. We can go slowly, but at least everyone's questions are getting answered. Okay, so who
There
wants
was a
to ask?
There was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's or some question which was there.
Okay, yeah, we can cover that. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared. He's Supreme Lord himself, and he's called Channa Avatar. Channa Avatar means he's a hidden incarnation. Hidden incarnation means because when the Lord appeared, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared, he appeared as a devotee of the Supreme Lord. When the Lord appears, he comes as a Lord, right? But in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's case, he came to show us how to implement the knowledge which was given in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, you become my devotee. But within that 5,000 years which has passed since the Bhagavad Gita was spoken, this knowledge was almost again lost. In Kali Yuga, no one knew how to surrender to Krishna. So Krishna said that, okay, I have given all this knowledge, but people are not understanding. In Kali Yuga, I will have to show them the case study. So he came to show the case study of how to implement this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita into their day-to-day life. But if he was explained to everyone that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then people will say that, oh, he's the Supreme Lord. Then for him it is okay to be a devotee. For me, it is not possible. So then this Lord's appearance is hidden. It is called Channa Avatar. So he came, the Supreme Lord came, but he came as a devotee and to propagate the Yuga Dharma. He is also called Yuga Avatar. So Kali Yuga, he is the avatar for the Kali Yuga. So in Kali Yuga, there is a Yuga Dharma. And that Yuga Dharma is to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came specifically to show how to become a devotee and to give the simple process or the simplest process of chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra by which we can get purified and we can develop the love for Godhead. So that was his purpose. But of course, his appearance are still mentioned in many scriptures, but it is still in a hidden way it is mentioned. So some other time we can actually refer to all these various verses and we can understand how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance is mentioned. Because earlier, as we said, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's, any incarnation, if it is not mentioned in the scriptures, it is not a bona fide avatar. But at the same time, we are saying Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a hidden one. So if it is hidden, that means, is there no mention of him in the scriptures? And that's why he cannot be considered as an avatar? No, his appearance has been mentioned. But when he was there, by his potency, he made sure that very few people who are very close associates would know that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he had some particular pastimes with them only, where he revealed to them that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But for the general population, he was still acting like a devotee of the Supreme Lord. Okay, fine. All right. So who wants to summarize what we have covered today? Or some reflections on whatever we have discussed, some comments anyone has? Let us take those for a few minutes and then we will close. Yes, Mahendra Prabhuji.
Hey, Prabhuji, I will try to cover some notes basically on the avatars and 4.7,
Yeah.
4.8.
Okay.
I found them pretty interesting. So a lot of new knowledge. So it's fantastic. I remember like I had asked you a question about difference between Lord Krishna and Vishnu, and you mentioned that it will come eventually in the future chapter. So I guess slowly it is coming now. So 4.7 and 8, I guess the famous verse is Yada Yada Hi Dharmasya, that one. So Krishna's activities whenever there is a decline in religion and predominant rise in religion, Krishna's avatar will come. Why? To annihilate the demons, to deliver the devotees, and to reestablish the principles of religion. Then you mentioned about the misconception, the major misconception people have. That's the 10 incarnations, Dashavataram. There you mentioned that every avatar comes with some mission, and the common goal of avatars is to lead people to God consciousness. Uh, you also mentioned about the scriptures. They do mention about avatars, and they have mentioned about the future avatars as well, like Lord Buddha and Kalki about. So interesting point that for like 32,000 years in Kali Yuga, Lord Buddha came to explain Vedic principles of non-violence. At the end, you mentioned about Lord Chaitanya, Channavatara, that hidden incarnation. So it's fantastic to know as well. Uh, the major difference, I tried to note down as much as possible because you were explaining about Vishnu. Uh, so
Okay,
fact is, Lord is,
we can
yeah,
keep that aside because that
yeah,
was like too technical, that
yeah,
part.
yeah, 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 yeah. But it was too detailed. It was fantastic. Like I would be looking forward to the lecture where it will go into.
Yeah, we can take some time, some
Yeah,
other time. Maybe when we go to Srimad Bhagavatam, once we complete Bhagavad Gita and go to Srimad Bhagavatam, at that time I can explain.
yeah, that would be fantastic. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Any other reflections or points that anyone? Yeah, Raghvendra Prabhuji or Mataji?
Prabhu, so this is some reflection plus a bit of question as well there. So in 4.9, Lord says, by remembering my pastimes which he had performed, we can be liberated. So what is the meaning there? He meaning us to go through Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam?
Yeah,
Or
so pastimes and instructions, both, if you actually go through it, then we can be benefited. So both Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, if we read and we try to understand and implement the knowledge which is given to us, we will perfect our life. Okay.
just
Yeah,
to add, sorry.
yes, go ahead, Prabhuji. I will just request that the questions we can take now next week. Any other reflections or comments that you have, we can take those.
I think the Varnasrama, mainly it doesn't come by birth. It has to come through our activities and our inclinations and our nature.
Yeah, good. Vidushi Mataji, you have
The way we approach Krishna, Krishna reciprocates with us. So if we ask something material, that's what will come. If we ask for Krishna,
we'll remain in the material world in that case. Yes, very good point. Excellent. Sudharma Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Krishna is telling us to be free from attachment, fear, and anger, because as Prabhupada has explained, unless we are free from material engrossment, it's really hard for us to progress in the spiritual journey.
Yeah, good. Surananda Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. We learned that why many people go to demigods, because they want their desires to be fulfilled quickly. So, and as demigods are duty bound, they doesn't think whether it is good for the person or not. So they will simply sanction. But one goes to Lord Krishna. So just like parents, how they think about their kids, so Krishna also thinks about them. And first he purify heart, and then he fulfill their desire.
Excellent. Okay. I think we will stop here. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada ki
Hare Krishna.
jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Hare Krishna.